Okay, back again with another live stream. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Let me quickly set everything up here. This time, I hope my laptop won't crash like it did yesterday, so we can be immediately discussing some important stuff, and I can be giving some context on what is going to be next here on today's live stream, what data we're going to see, and why is it so important for crypto. I see the first people are joining now. Let me check if everything is working. Also, please give a quick thumbs up if you can hear me. Yes, it sounds good. Everything is working fine. Okay, amazing. How are we doing? How are you guys doing? Since yesterday, actually, let's recap a little bit before we are going to be diving into today's live stream. Because yesterday we saw in this live stream here from yesterday, FOMC minutes, of course, we saw the FOMC minutes coming out with the Federal Reserve not, or the most members not really wanting to cut rates again in December here, the next FOMC meeting. So rate cut odds dropped even further to the downside, with also in mind that that we are not going to see some important jobs data out of October, which also lowered the rate cut odds here for December. Now a 33% chance of a 25 bps rate cut. So not looking that good. Then crypto started tanking a little bit to the downside here, making a new low at 88k for Bitcoin. And then we start bouncing back up because the Nvidia earnings came out, and the Nvidia earnings came in much higher than, or not much, but higher than expected. And the market did really like that, and that's why we started to bounce back up. And now we have the next important data points for the rate cut probabilities coming out. Since now we are going to get, I will show it here, the non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rate. Non-farm payrolls is basically a big jobs report out of September, and the unemployment rate is of course the percentage of how many people are unemployed in the USA. Also data out of September. So it is going to be a very interesting day, and this is the first time we've seen such critical data coming out over quite a long time. So I'm definitely super excited. I hope the same can be said for you guys, because it is very important data, and I think one of the last big data points before the next FOMC meeting. So this is also going to be somewhat of a moment of truth, we could say. Of course, we have a lot of initial jobless claims coming out in the meantime, but non-farm payrolls and unemployment rate is most definitely much more important than just, for example, the jobless claims. And looking at the US labor market currently, let's look into the stats first of all. Let's see. Non-farm payrolls, previous report 22k, consensus 50k. So forecast 50k, previous 22k. So means that actually the expectation is that the payrolls are going to come out stronger than expected. So we want to see for rate cuts, we don't want to see a number coming in lower than 50k. Unemployment rate, it seems like the market is expecting that this won't change. So if the unemployment rate comes in higher than 4.3%, it's going to be another bullish catalyst here, and we can be seeing the rate cut odds moving ever so slightly higher. I think not only on FedWatch here, but also on Polymarket, the chances of a rate cut odd have been quickly dropping. Now even more, it seems like. Let me quickly assess this. Yeah, we have been coming down even more in the last few hours here, or actually the last 20 minutes. A few percent back. And this is maybe because some news just came out. Let me quickly check the timeline. I don't really see this, but I would assume it's because of some kind of news, but I don't see anything. But on Polymarket, the odds are now dropping even lower, so that's not looking that good. Only 20% chance left that we are going to get a rate cut, and now a 75% chance that the Fed is not going to cut rates up over 20% over the last day. So yes, quite a significant shift in the market here, to be honest. Quite a significant shift. So it is going to be a very interesting day. Since the thing is now that the odds are getting lower and lower, of course, if there is going to be some good data coming out, or basically some bad labor market data, which is going to be positive for rate cut odds, we can be seeing quite big movements in crypto. Since the rate cut odds can of course move even lower from here, but they can move much higher from here than they can move much lower. So it heightens the chance that we might see and that we could see a big bounce back to the top side. Nasdaq now coming down back slightly pre-market. I think the pre-market is looking very good currently. US stock market is looking green. It could be quite a good day on Wall Street, of course, because the Nvidia earnings came in so positive. Still very fair for the market here. Also, US stock market, Dow futures up, S&P futures up, Nasdaq futures up by almost 1.5%. So that is looking quite promising going into the data here. Data is going to drop in about 1 hour and 30 minutes from here. So if you do have any questions, make sure to drop them now here at the beginning of the live stream, so we can be discussing them before we are going to be heading into the data late in the stream, because then I won't have as much time. I think it's going to be wise to do some analysis on Bitcoin and Ethereum. I will give them a quick update on my trading positions. And now actually, Bitcoin coming up ever so slightly. I will give an update on trading positions. Also gave some updates in the VIP group here. Yeah, let's discuss most of this. And let's discuss this very interesting pattern I'm currently seeing for Ethereum, because this is indeed looking very good. Now, okay, let's dive in here, because Bitcoin is now at the most oversold level since 2023, since the start of the bear market. This is something and a subject we did discuss in this morning's update video, but this is of course looking very interesting that Bitcoin is now so oversold compared to 2023, which was basically the start of the bear market. I'm not even marking it out correctly here. This is the exact moment I was talking about. The start of the bull market here. We've not been this oversold since then, or this low on the RSI since then. And we are actually very close to bear market levels on the weekly, which is quite insane. Look at that. Here, I would say that this is probably somewhat of a bear market level. And now there are a few chances left. You could see somewhat of a dead cat bounce here, even lower, but this is indeed somewhat of a bear market zone. And it is quite insane that Bitcoin is now already so close to that bear market zone now. And I think it would be much more likely that Bitcoin is first going to see a bounce before eventually entering the bear market zone. Maybe we can create an even bigger bearish divergence. For example, maybe you can do something like this and then drop into the bear market. Yeah, let's see. But of course, we also had this major bearish divergence playing out for Bitcoin here. And at some point, you are going to see a bounce. And not only on just the Bitcoin versus USD pair, we are very oversold, but also on the Bitcoin versus gold pair. We did discuss this in this morning's update video. This is some very interesting data I'm currently seeing. I don't see a lot of people talking about this, but if you're truly looking to the data, you can see that Bitcoin versus gold has not been oversold like this many times before. Bitcoin versus gold is literally at bear market levels. We are even lower than the COVID-19 correction here. So it shows you how oversold Bitcoin is versus gold here. Oh, I also see some news coming out about the jobs report. Let me quickly open it. September jobs report due after shutdown delay. Economists expect 55k new jobs in September and 4.3% unemployment. The data delayed by will heavily influence the Fed's December rate cut decision, where odds are split between a cut and hold steady. Yeah, this is indeed what I was saying also. The odds are quite split now, so if we can see a very negative report, maybe some members can be switched over to agreeing on another rate cut, and then the markets can flip bullish quite quickly again. Goldman Sachs sees weaker September hiring due to falling federal payrolls and expect October data to show a 50k job loss from shutdown effects. Dates for the postponed reports are still pending. Okay. Interesting. Let's see how this is going to play out. Back to the Bitcoin chart. Like stay, Bitcoin versus gold, very oversold now. Not only Bitcoin versus USD, but also Bitcoin versus gold. And I'm just seeing more and more signals that a Bitcoin bounce here in the near future is going to be likely. I think it will be happening in the near future. Because yeah, we are just getting too many signals now that Bitcoin is indeed getting a little bit too oversold. Looking at Bitcoin short term, we have this major support volume zone. We broke below this important volume zone. Then we also broke below the yearly open. Yeah, now we should be bouncing back here in the near future. To reclaim the yearly open, that's going to be our first bullish signal, and then I think we can be continuing a bounce. While the 100k level is going to probably be very big resistance. We can see rejection there. If you can break higher, it's going to get interesting. But for now, I think 85k is going to be the worst case scenario for Bitcoin, but I think it's more likely that we see somewhat of a bounce getting started from the point we are currently trading at, igniting somewhat of a relief rally also. I think this would make a lot of sense, a relief rally like this, since this is what happened every single post-halving year. After breaking the 50 weekly moving average, we always see a relief rally back to the 50 weekly moving average itself. After breaking it a few weeks, months after it, we always see it. And I think, yeah, unbottoming stage for Bitcoin is getting super close here. And something like this could happen again. If we break above the 50 weekly, make new all-time highs, for example, yeah, then the 4-year cycle might be getting broken. But for now, that seems unlikely. I personally think. Nasdaq we just discussed. Oh yeah, let me give a big update on my quick update actually on my trading positions, because I'm still in, of course, my Bitcoin trading position. 2 trades got stopped out. I did put very tight stop losses, and I'm quite happy I did. But now I'm still in these trading positions here. 98k entry, 93k entry, and I think that I can still be making profit on these trades because I believe in that relief bounce back to the top side, like I was talking about with the chart here. Historical data exactly shows, historical data proves. And if that's going to happen, I can still be making a nice profit on these trading positions. Same can be said for Ethereum. I think Ethereum is just going to follow Bitcoin's move here and can be doing a little bit more aggressively because it's ETH. And I think ETH has been lagging behind the entire cycle. So once it's going to get moving, it could go quite fast. Maybe I see Ethereum possible of making new all-time highs if Bitcoin is really going to see like a big bounce back up. Because usually Ethereum outperforms Bitcoin in the ending stage of the cycle. But yeah, let's see about exactly that. For now, we also must acknowledge that it seems like Bitcoin is in the bear market since we broke the 50 weekly moving average. But still a lot of possibilities here. I will keep my trades open. If you also want to trade yourself, make sure to come over to LBank, because there you can now claim a 50% deposit bonus up to 2.5k and a generous refund up to 5k. So make sure to come and check it out with the link in the description on this live stream, because there you can be claiming that bonus here. Claim 50% deposit bonus plus $100 voucher, but you can also claim the generous refund there. So make sure to check it out for your first trading position. Of course, do your own research. No financial advice, but it is going to be a nice opportunity here. I don't see a lot of activity. If you have a question, make sure to drop it in the chat. We have now also this Ethereum falling wedge in play, which is a very interesting pattern. Let me quickly change. Very, very interesting pattern. Ethereum falling wedge. Sure, I was quickly checking something. This is an very bullish pattern actually, and uh, we saw this for the first time in yesterday's live stream, and actually at that moment we were trading at the support line here. We saw quite a big bounce back to the upside for ETH, and most definitely if ETH can be initiating a breakout here, you're looking into potential breakout target at the top side of the falling wedge back to about 4.2k. Of course, the chances of a falling wedge breaking to the top side are, oh, what is this? The chances of a falling wedge breaking to the top side are about, let me, 1 sec. Okay, so I can write it out. 70% chance it breaks. What is this, man? Go away. Oh, then of course still 70% chance it breaks to the top side. Whoa, such beautiful writing. And 30% chance it will break to the downside. So that's what we're currently looking into, and this is just a very important pattern. And most of the times, also looking at Bitcoin, unfortunately Bitcoin did break below this pattern in the latest move, but there's still a bigger chance that it breaks to the top side. And what if Ethereum can be breaking it to the top side while Bitcoin moves a little bit of steam? It would make a lot of sense at any stage of the cycle. So very interesting also regarding our Ethereum position. I think this is a very nice trading opportunity here on ETH. And today, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of, we definitely don't have a lot of volatility. ETH still below the 50 weekly moving average here. And yeah, I think the market is just awaiting the data, to be honest. Market is just awaiting the data. US pre-market check. Not much of a difference there. Maybe a quick update on the private VIP channel. I see a lot of trades here in the group, so that's nice. Here I gave an update on, of course, the Ethereum falling wedge. Ethereum doesn't look so good for now. I think a bounce could be getting close. My BX trade and Ethereum trade that I will just keep my positions open here. And of course that Bitcoin is now at the most oversold level since 2023, since the start of this bull market. And maybe we can show trade here. Limit order on ETH, I see. First take profit on Ethereum from Mario. Very nice trade once again. And guys, if you do want more, if you do want altcoin setups and trading opportunities, make sure to come over to the description of this live stream, because there you can also join the VIP channel. Make sure to come and check it out there. Let me see if we have some more interesting stuff to discuss. Yeah, what I also find very interesting is now with all of the economic data and the next rate cut decision, I think something which is getting very close, and I saw a super interesting chart about this morning. So let me quickly see if I can look that up. Like a very interesting chart here. Let's discuss this one. Here, and have been talking about this for a longer time. We have not only, of course, the rate cut decisions, but also just a shift in possible monetary policy. So we have been in QT this entire cycle, and with the start of QT, after a period of QE, we have seen altcoins only moving lower because of course, there's not that much of liquidity available. But now, potentially, QE could be starting in the near future, and QT is going to end on the 1st of December. That is something we do know. So, first of all, the next December meeting, we are probably going to hear more about QE and QT. And if we can be seeing a start of QE potentially in Q1 2026, Q2 2026, regarding, for example, the burst of the AI bubble or something else, regional stimulation, QE can be getting started, then you're at somewhat of an amazing point to start accumulating altcoins, I would say. Because if you look, it seems like with that major liquidation week here, we did hit that depression phase because altcoins have been bleeding for such and such a long time. During this entire QT period, altcoins have been bleeding, and we have only seen these mini periods of outperformance for altcoins. If you also look into the others versus Bitcoin chart, for example, and then the weekly perspective, we have only seen certain periods of outperformance. For example, here, which was of course there are quite big moves measured from the low, but just like mini altcoin seasons, I would call them. 60, and here we saw a very small one, 50. And we've seen more of these seasons. Here, overlaid with the Bitcoin dominance. There you can clearly see it also. But the big thing is that in the end, trend is down. In the end, you're in a major downtrend since January 2022. And that is something which probably does have a lot to do with the Fed balance sheet, which I was discussing earlier. Fed balance sheet, this one. Boom. And I heard a lot about people saying, oh, here in 2017 we did not have any QE, so it doesn't matter for altcoins. There was indeed no QE in this period, but what I personally think is that in 2017, or what is fact, that in 2017 there were a lot less altcoins. There were not as many altcoins, so there was much less liquidity needed for altcoins to pump and for the market cap versus Bitcoin to move higher. There was much and much less liquidity needed. Now there's much and much more liquidity needed, of course, because there are so many more altcoins. So I think in that perspective, it's going to be critical to have QT ending and possibly QT starting to have more liquidity. I think that is going to be very important for altcoins to see somewhat of a period of outperformance. Otherwise, it's going to be hard for altcoins to sustain already longer than what we have seen here and here and here and here and here. It is super hard to sustain for altcoins because there is simply not a lot of liquidity. So that is why we don't see just like some parabolic move like this and this. Because the thing is also, if you look into the total period here, for example, it goes super fast. This period here is also not a very long period, but it is the same length as this entire move up. So the period does not get longer, but within the period of outperformance, there's just much and much more liquidity available to flow into altcoins. And that is why we could have seen somewhat of a true altcoin season here, for example, starting off here and ending here, for example. But for something like that, you do want to be in a space where there's QE and not QT, where liquidity is not tightening, but where liquidity is expanding. That's my personal opinion on altcoins. I know a lot of people don't agree with me and haven't been agreeing with me over the last few times because they always say we don't need it. Just look at 2017. But I think now it's just totally different. I think we need QE. And I have been calling for this a long time on the channel. I think once it's going to happen, it's going to get super interesting. And will be a very big and important event most definitely. So that's also something I'm looking into. Just not the rate cuts, but also the Fed monetary policy itself, because I think that's going to be even more important. Do you see all season? I was just discussing all of this, but going back to the chart, I was saying I think for altcoin season we do need to see QE getting started, and that is going to be a new opportunity for potentially an altcoin season. And if it's going to get started, it could go quite fast. Of course, depending a little bit on the rate of and the pace of QE we're going to see. But I think it will get started once more stimulation is going to hit the market personally. So that's what I'm looking out for, and I won't be heavily scaling into altcoins up until I'm going to see QE getting started. But talking about this chart, I think there is indeed um, some truth in accumulating altcoins on spot now, because it really seems like we are in depression and not in anxiety or optimism or euphoria. And a lot of people are also saying, "Oh, we won't see altcoin scenes ever again." I think we will, because there are more altcoins, but you still have like a top 100 and a top 200 and a top 1000. And there's more to invest in indeed, but eventually, if there is enough liquidity, it will flow into those into the top 100, top 1000, those altcoins, and we can still see a big altcoin season. So that's what I'm currently thinking of altcoin season, and the Fed monetary policy is going to be the critical data for yourself. So also, if you have been losing a lot of money betting on altcoin season, what I would suggest, what I'm doing, is just looking at the Fed monetary policy, because it's going to be decisive for all assets and most definitely altcoins. I really believe in that. And I think, let me open the Bitcoin chart daily. Mm. Hello, Mr. Crypto. Hello, good to see you. Great point. Most likely Q1 2026. Yeah, it really depends, in my opinion, when QE could be getting started. That is something I will be looking into before potentially scaling more into altcoins, because I think it's going to be the most important factor. And for the people that have been calling that we won't need it, I think we have quite some proof now, looking at others versus Bitcoin, that we will need something of QE to sustain a bigger rally than what we have seen, for example, here and in all these other periods. And in all of these other periods. And of course, you can give the argument that during these periods of outperformance, I would say that we just see different narratives outperform. But in my opinion, it's still going to be a problem of not that there's not enough liquidity in the market eventually. Because if there was, and rally like this could sustain much and much longer, and we can go much and much higher, because there's always risk appetite, but it really depends on the macroeconomics and just the environment assets are trading in. So let's see, the monetary policy is going to be critical, and that's why I want to be keen on all of this data, and why I do want to stay and stay focused on all of this economic data heading in towards the meeting, because it's going to be critical. It is going to be critical, and a very negative jobs report can be pushing the rate cut odds for December here higher once again. And I think that could be igniting some positive momentum, because we have been seeing what these rate cut odds are currently doing with the markets. Every single time they drop lower, the markets tank. Every single time they come up a little bit, markets bounce back up. So this data is definitely getting heavily priced in. And on Polymarket, the odds are now lower than on Fed Watch, and that is something we have not really seen for quite a long time. There's a rumor on X about the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve today. What do you think? Let me dive into that. What I do find it quite interesting that on Polymarket the 25 BPS decrease odds are now getting lower and lower, but on FedWatch not. That's not really a good sign because most of the time Polymarket is more accurate. Um, Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Big news about Strategic Bitcoin Reserve to be announced today. U.S. Congressman Warren Davidson expected to introduce new Strategic Bitcoin Reserve bill tomorrow. Okay, interesting. I indeed see some stuff. Um, I'm looking into it. Old video of mine. We've come a far way. We've come a long way. I think it's about this that the U.S. Rep Warren Davidson teased his major announcement on a strategic Bitcoin reserve coming later today. I will quickly post it on our channels also. But I saw this news indeed coming out earlier. But yeah, it's not. It's still rumor indeed. It's not really specific yet. But it is definitely very interesting. Give me a quick moment. Okay. Yes, eyes on today's report, but on yesterday's FOMC minutes they said several were for rate cuts and many don't. Probably we will see a 25 BPS in December. Yeah, indeed, many don't and several were, so many is more than several, and that is why the rate cut odds are also so low. But that's also why I was saying if we are going to see a very negative jobs report, we can still see rate cuts. But that is not the current expectation of the market because the consensus is that we are going to see a stronger drops report than what we have seen back in what was the month before September? Let me think. August. I'm not that good with the months. August. So yeah, just a combination of the current data points and what we know is the reason why the rate cut odds are so low. And of course, several can turn into many quick if the US labor market is just going to keep on deteriorating like we have seen over the last months. Because let's be clear about all of this, the US labor market is definitely not in um it's definitely not looking very good. You could have short every single New York Open and it would have worked out of the entire. Yeah. All of the New York dumps. Thinking a sneaky pump, imagine a proper altcoin season, it would be insane. Yeah, most definitely. And this chart is indeed giving me some hopium, but yeah, for me now, just regarding markets, I will be looking into, of course, taking profits on my longs. I will be looking potentially opening shorts on Bitcoin. I will just be playing the trend. But for me, from now on, the Fed monetary policy is going to be my most important data point and will be the middle point of where I will be doing my analysis from and where I will be getting my market thoughts from. Because I think this entire cycle has been evidence that the Fed monetary policy is leading for Bitcoin here. Do you do promos? I also post on X daily basis, but not much gained so far. Yes, I've done promos in the past. It really depends on which kind of project, which kind of promo. You should be really careful. But yeah, if you just stay, if you do your best and stay providing good content, stay making good content, stay consistent, keep grinding, then eventually you will get a lot of deals. You will just keep being consistent. I also started with nothing in crypto, and I just started creating content about what I love because I love financial markets. I just started making content about it, and now I can quite confidently say that I'm living my dream life. So it can be going quite fast. Just keep being consistent. Is the only thing I could say. That is what's going to reward you. And we can say the same for markets. We just need to stay consistent. Need to be sharp on all of the data, all the data points we are also going to get now, and that's why we are live once again. We do want to be on top of the markets because now is the time to focus. Mm-mm. Let me come back to X to see if we have some more news stuff coming out. Also, just to keep our eyes on the 18 falling wedge, Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not doing a lot here over the last hours. We just keep on consolidating. Let me fix this. Hi sausages. Hello, Dani. Hello, hello, hello. Nice to have you here. Let's see what we can discuss before we will be diving into the data later. Once the data is going to come out, I would just stay on X here because that's probably where we can see all of the data the quickest. Mm, not that much happening today so far. US stock market, pre-market. Pre-market still up over 1.5% here on the Nasdaq. And let's also open the Nasdaq or the Nvidia chart. Because yesterday we did probably save the bull market for a little bit longer, because if you're going to look into the Nvidia chart on, for example, the daily time frame, and you overlay it with the moving average 100, Nvidia, because of the strong earnings yesterday, did most definitely hold above some very important support. Look at that, above the 100 daily moving average here, Nvidia. And let's hope it can be bouncing much higher once again. Let's hope the US stock market can continue its recovery, because now it's still looking as a higher low, or a lower high, I must say. And that's not something you don't want to see for Nvidia. I would say if we are now going to see a lower high, it's not looking that good. But if Nvidia can be making new highs again, and the US stock market can stay positive here, and can stay putting in more green days, it could get quite interesting quickly once again. Let me also now open some more Bitcoin charts, because in yesterday's live stream I was also going live a little bit earlier, because I love to do so. I'd love to interact with some of you guys before we dive into the data. I don't want to directly dive into it. And then my laptop crashed, so all of my charts were gone. So I will also take this time to do a little bit of charting, because maybe this is also something interesting we can discuss. Probably you guys have seen this chart over 1,000 times in the last few weeks. 50, oh not a 900, 50 weekly moving average. Unemployment data were released in less than an hour. Yes, it's coming out in about 45 minutes. 45 minutes here. Because I think it's important to make a point about this. Because the general trend for Bitcoin is currently down. We have broken below the 50 weekly moving average. All of the data currently confirms that we are trading or at the starting period of a bear market. We could drop lower, see a relief rally, and then move even lower. But yeah, that's the general trend of the market. And to be breaking something like this, the only thing that could be breaking this is break back above the 50 weekly and make new all-time highs. Not a lot of other things will be able to break this. I think there's not going to be a big chance Bitcoin is going to reverse like this, personally. But what I must say is that it's not unusual that assets do something like this, because if you have, for example, the Nasdaq here on the weekly, and you overlay it with the 50 weekly moving average, you do see that during the tariffs also the US stock market entered bear market territory, and then it bounced back and just made many new all-time highs. So yeah, there's always still that possibility of a huge fake out and breaking the 4-year cycle. There's always a possibility, but I don't think this is going to be the most likely scenario. But we have this potential scenario here. Also looking at, if you for example look at Alphabet, Google stock, you had the same thing happening. You also had something of a broadening wedge. I think this is a very interesting chart actually. Let me see how I can draw it correctly. I think it's doing something very similar like Bitcoin is doing now actually. And then if we put Bitcoin besides it, I'm going to share some alpha. Weekly. Boom. You have this here. And you have, let me see how they, oh, it was like this. Wait a sec. Boom. You most definitely have something similar playing out. Of course a little different, but there's always that possibility of a fake out. But the only data point we have to support a claim like this is basically the US stock market and the Nasdaq itself, like I just showed, and other performance of US stocks. We don't have a lot of other data points. Bitcoin historically never did this, echt confirming it as a fake out and indeed making new all-time highs. That is going to be the only scenario where I would say it's going to be fake out, when Bitcoin does truly make new all-time highs from here. Then we can quite confidently say that the 4-year cycle is going to be broken, but for now it seems rather unlikely that that's going to be the case. Just to be honest. But let's see. Maybe it will. We are indeed seeing quite a strong Bitcoin bounce here, which is positive. Going back to my trades for a second here. On WEX, still my trading positions open. And maybe I can show my stop losses here, 84k, 88k. I think this trade, 93k, is like a good entry. It's close to my entry price now. Let's see. Let's see. Ethereum trade, last limit order open at 2.8k. Like I stated earlier in today's live stream, if you do want to join me trading on Albank, trade a lot of other different altcoins in Albank, make sure to come over to the description of this live stream where you can claim your 50% deposit bonus and a $100 US dollar voucher, but also a generous refund up to 5k on your first trading position. So make sure to come and check it out if you're getting interested in that. To claim your first bonus to start trading Ethereum, because we indeed have a major falling wedge now for ETH here. And also, not the falling wedge, but what I find quite interesting about the setup is also this liquidity grab here at this fake out of the on the top of this previous range basically. Let's draw it out completely here. We have this range. Boom. I would say this is your range. Here you had your fake out. And now once again touching that exact level. So it would be quite an interesting level for E to see somewhat of an bounce, I would say. And like stated, if you're looking into a breakout here, the top side of the falling wedge is going to be your breakout target. That's a 4.2k price target, which would also perfectly align with this, which is interesting. To perfectly align with somewhat of a resistance line like this. Very interesting looking into it. And this is still 40% move up here. We can potentially be catching with a falling wedge breakout. So exciting. And guys, in about 40 minutes we have the data coming in. If you have any more questions, make sure to drop them now, because now I can still be answering before it's going to get quite busy with all of the data. And let me quickly check my phone also. Crypto is headed to the Bourbon Bowl. What does that mean exactly? I think it doesn't sound very positive. It does not sound very positive indeed. Get drunk and eat chicken fingers, the good kind, $8. I will pass on that for now, but maybe we can be doing so in December, around the holidays. Are you guys looking forward to the holidays? I'm definitely looking forward to the holidays. December, Christmas, my birthday, so many nice things incoming. What are you guys going to do for the holidays here? Do we have some plans coming up? 20th of November already. The time is going super fast. Time is going so fast. Okay, quickly check my phone for the latest news, but not much of new insights coming out for the jobs report. So we just are going to be waiting and see how Bitcoin is going to perform up until the jobs report here. And just looking at it, it's making me so excited. It's making me so excited. And also in the private VIP group, we do still have some Ethereum positions open, of course, my position, but also some other traders. And now one of our traders is taking his first profit on this position. He's doing very well actually at the current moment, also with this Bitcoin dominance prediction. He's doing very well. Okay, in about 30 minutes we are going to see the data. So just a bit more patience and then it is going to get started. Let me dive back into the chart, see if something interesting is happening here. If you have some questions, drop it in the chat. Look up the movie The Water Boy. I will be doing so in my free time. Sorry, sometimes I'm really dumb, and that's okay. I don't think so. We did not say anything very dumb yet, I think. Ethereum here. Let me quickly... Let's just scroll our X page like I'm doing for most of the days and see if we can find some important stuff. Bullish divergence for Bitcoin here. If unemployment goes in lower than 4.3% or this is actually not true. I see a lot of fake news lately on X. I don't know what it is, but it's quite insane. $500 million mint, and Trump is set to drop a massive announcement at the investment forum at 12 p.m. today. Markets on standby. President Trump says interest rates are too high, and he indeed said that. Let's where it got out. Did you check the liquidity? No, I haven't checked the liquidity map yet. Let's discuss that. Let's see. Let's see why the liquidity is stacking up now. a lot of liquidity at the 97k level. Yeah, look, I think eventually it's going to be imminent that Bitcoin will be grabbing the topside liquidity all the way back up to potentially 100k, and from there we just have to see what the next market decision is going to be. But I think there is a lot and a lot of short liquidity stacking up here also. 97k. This short liquidity will eventually be getting grabbed, I think. I truly believe that. I think a too big part of the market is now short. I most definitely think this is going to get grabbed in the near future. Both weekly, 2 weekly. Let's also look at the monthly. The monthly we did just grab some important lower side liquidity, it seems like. Um, so yeah, not that much going on there. On the monthly you do see that also the downside more liquidity remains, but I think on the short term perspective it's more likely that Bitcoin will be grabbing some of that topside liquidity in the near future. Okay, I will be taking a quick pee. I will be grabbing some water and then I will be back in about 3 to 5 minutes from now on. And then we can continue. In about 30 minutes we have the data coming in, so make sure to stay because we need to be discussing this data in 30 minutes from here on. So give me a moment, I will be back in a few minutes. I'm back. Sorry for the wait. Hey man, good job. Thanks. Thank you so much. Sorry for the wait. I'm back and let's dive back into the chart directly here. Just took a quick pause. Um, Go and eat here. I will also plan in a quick post on X now, just before the data is going to come out. 20 minutes before the jobless data or the US labor market data is going to come out. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, planning a quick Twitter post. Okay, just did the final post on X, use on unemployment rate plus jobs report in 15 minutes, because indeed in 15 minutes exactly it's going to drop. And now I will be fully back into the content, and let me open the chat once again. Good job, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bitcoin just before the data, pumping ever so slightly up on the 5 minutes here, but basically on the full day just in somewhat of a bigger compression phase. So let's see what's going to be next here. What are your guys' expectations of this important data? I am definitely quite excited. Let's see. It's going to come out in 15 minutes here. Non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rate. What will it be doing with the rate cut odds? Which are now once again coming back down. So what is happening? Dropping to 27% here. 29 now. So what is happening here? I don't see news coming out which is affecting these odds, but it's coming back down once again. So let's see if the crypto market will show some weakness also now. But yeah, just before we're going to be diving in, make sure to check out this offer on Albank. Claim your 2.5k deposit bonus and 5k generous refund. And I'm super excited for this data here. More middle income Americans are trying to make a new life overseas. Interesting. Okay. 13 minutes. The clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. Ethereum here can be igniting in breakout of the falling wedge. Then we are looking into our trading setup over 40%, where we can be making some nice money on our trading position. Let's see about exactly that. Bitcoin here. Can we reclaim the yearly open? How is this data going to look like? Head over to Polymarket. %27. Coming back up a little bit. US pre-market. Let's just do a quick scan. Oh, Nasdaq up 1.8% now pre-market. That's quite insane. That is quite insane. Can we see some new stuff about the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve rumor? Only this one. 10 minutes. Okay, I'm definitely very excited. Just in the rating room now. If you have a question just before the data, make sure to drop it now. If you're just in the rating room, there's not that much to talk about. I will put Bitcoin on the background here. What will it be doing here? Bitcoin. Boom. Back to the data. So, for the people new dropping in, non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rate. Non-farm payrolls, previous report 22k, consensus now 50k. Unemployment rate, previous one 4.3%, consensus also 4.3%. So, let's see. It is going to get interesting. And basically, we do want to see the unemployment rate coming in higher than expected and the non-farm payrolls coming in lower than the 50k that is expected now. That is going to be increasing the chance of a 25 bps rate cut because the US labor market is one of the most important indicators for the Federal Reserve to make their rate cut decisions on. So that's why we're live. That's the moral of the story. That is why this data is so super important. Seven minutes. 7 minutes. Let's see if we have some news coming out. Bitcoin. Compressing. No, no, not much new stuff. 5 minutes, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Almost there. Data dropping in a few minutes. Let's see. Rate cut odds. 29% now. Is that what the news is? Fed will start QE soon. Emergency meeting in New York City. Yes, indeed. That is something which did already happen. Is that what the news is? What do you mean? The most important news is coming out in about 4 minutes now. Right out of markets, we are 80% into a bubble. Interesting. Three minutes. Two minutes. 2 minutes. I will keep my eyes on it also. 2 minutes for the non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rate. What is it going to be? Everything lower than 50k is going to be bullish. Unemployment rate coming in higher than 4.3% is going to be bullish. And of course, the other way around, it works the same. 1 minute. 1 minute, guys. Be ready now. It is going to drop any moment. Okay. Solana looks very good. Okay, I'm going to the notifications now. We just have a few seconds left before this big decision. Well, deze. Alright, it's coming out now. It's coming out now. There it is, there it is. US non-farm payrolls plus 190%. Whoa, it is much stronger than expected. This is going to result in a big dump, I think. Um, Whoa, this is a very strong report. This is not good for crypto. Okay, so non-farm payrolls comes in much higher than expected, and let me check. And the unemployment rate comes in higher than expected. That's bullish. It's very mixed data. Mm-mm-mm. Let me quickly check what's happening now. I'm also posting on X. Let's go to the Bitcoin chart. Yeah. Oh, 5 minutes. Whoa, big rejection already of the dump. Um, Big rejection of the pump, and that's exactly because I'm posting all of this now on X, and then I will dive into into the charts and what I think it means for markets. Okay, let me quickly post all of this. Look, I just wrote a post, and this is why the pump is currently also getting reversed. Because the unemployment data actually came in quite bullish, but I will show. US job creation surged over expectations because the non-farm payrolls did come in much higher than expected at 119k instead of 53k here, which means that the US labor market is showing strength here, but unemployment continues on the rise. So we have very mixed signals, and this is not going to be a very good data set for the Fed also. So yes, definitely not the data we were hoping for, to be honest. It shows that the US economy is very strong, but that was actually not what we were looking for. The US labor market currently. Let me see if there's more data. We also saw some continuing jobless claims. Yeah, this is also one. So yeah, very mixed data. That's it. And the rate cut odds are not doing that much. To be honest, 27%. Um, yeah, it's very mixed data. I can't say much about it because they released September's data. What's this? And here, very strong jobs report actually. Very strong. Okay, so that's it. We have some very important data to deal with over the upcoming days. And that was why I saw data coming out and was quite directly like, oh, that is not looking that good. And we still started pumping on, I think, the unemployment rate, but this pump was reversed quite quickly, purely because of, I think here people saw the unemployment rate, and then they actually saw how strong the jobs report is, and then we started dumping back to the downside, and now we are in quite some insane volatility. That's it basically. We are now indeed bumping back up ever so slightly once again. So let's see. Let's see. Okay, that was it. That was the data. Guys, if you still have some questions, make sure to ask them now so we can still discuss. And if you have some questions about the data, I can give my opinion. Drop your questions now. What do you think of the bear market? Yes, let's discuss that. Let's go back to this chart to discuss that. What do I currently think of the bear market? I think Bitcoin broke below the 50 weekly moving average here. I think that is indeed a clear indication that Bitcoin did enter bear market territory. And the only thing which could be invalidating this bear market, which would also invalidate the 4-year cycle, is going to be a bounce above the 50 weekly moving average here, and then a new move towards all-time highs, just like for example Google did with this major fake out during the tariffs. Break above the 50 weekly moving average, then move higher, make new all-time highs, and continue the parabolic run. That's the only thing that could be breaking the Bitcoin 4-year cycle, and that could give me the feeling that that maybe the 4-year cycle is going to get broken and we won't enter a bear market. That's the only thing that could be saving us. What's the next strong support for Bitcoin? If you look on the daily time frame here, we have here an important volume area which we broke below. We have the yearly open, which I do want to see a reclaim of. We could also get rejected there and then move towards this next volume box. I would say that's about the 84, 85k level where Bitcoin can be finding some support. This is the next big support zone if Bitcoin is going to continue to show more weakness. Let's check on our trading positions then. Bitcoin trades still in a loss, unfortunately. Ethereum trades looking a little bit better. I don't know why I'm not able to close this. Yeah, looking a bit better. I will keep my limit order open. I think this trade could still perform quite well with the Ethereum falling wedge in mind we have been discussing earlier in the stream also. If you haven't done so, make sure to check out this bonus on LBank with the link in the description on this live stream. You can be claiming a 50% deposit bonus, a $1 on choose dollar voucher, and last but not least, a generous refund. So make sure to come and check it out. 2.5k deposit bonus, 5k generous refund on your first trading position only. Make sure to come and check it out if you're getting interested in that. And if you potentially do want to open some positions yourself also. Check it out. Okay. So yeah, that's it guys. Let's for the last time refresh the rate cut odds. It's not loading. What was it doing on Polymarket? On Polymarket, the odds are actually coming back up to 33% now, which is interesting to see. So Polymarket traders think the unemployment rate is going to be more important than the non-farm payrolls. Interesting. Fairly interesting. We don't have much more news than that, I think. Okay. US continuing claims to 220k. Jobless claims. Okay guys, I will be ending the stream for today. It was a good one again. Mixed data. Let's see what the market is going to do overnight. Probably we won't see a lot of movement here because this is not decisive data. It did not really indicate the direction for Bitcoin. It's just very mixed, like I stated earlier. Higher unemployment rate. A much better non-farm payrolls report than expected. So let's see. We can't be saying too much about it at the current moment, but I do want to thank all of you guys for watching. Make sure to claim your bonus on LBank if you're getting interested in that. Come over to the community. I will be dropping a quick update in here and now, which I always do after the live streams and before. I'm updating in real time in my own channel in the private VIP group. So make sure to come and check it out here with the link in the description on this live stream. And then I will see you guys there or in the next update video or live stream later on the channel. I wish you guys an amazing evening, morning, afternoon. Depends on which time zone you're in. Okay guys, have a good one and I will see you guys later.